else to just show you're part of us. So if you're watching from YouTube Live, you're watching from Zoom, please just drop comments right now so we know you're part of us, and we know you're also watching. I feel very happy to have you join us, and that shows you value us as much as we value you. PAADC this year is super going to be amazing. We started last week with the masterclass, and we understand that the masterclass is very important. The maiden edition started last year, and the masterclass was born with a necessity to equip the applicants beyond just monetary value, but also to make them understand the necessity and also the process of beyond the ideation stage. And that was the theme for last year. But this year's masterclass was tagged scaling design into product, and we looked into so many things. One of the things we looked into was a business pitch that works, the effective communication with the users, business sustainability during crisis, and one very amazing catchy topic was optimizing your resources and also how to network. I'm sure we were super impacted with conversations from our masterclass speakers. I would like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Michael John, Mr. Dozier Ayanguna, Mrs. Tosi Faniro, and also Ms. Tife Shuler. Before we start today, we'd like to start off with the national anthem, ladies and gentlemen. So please, wherever you are, please kindly put your phones on silent and let us honor the country, Nigeria, as we start off with the national anthem.
The keynote speakers.
All right, thank you very much to the team behind the logistics. We can see we're doing very much to make sure that this goes on very seamlessly. And we appreciate for those of you that are commenting and also dropping your emojis on the YouTube channel. Moving straight right now to the introduction speech, and this is from the, like to say that you're all brother and also our mentor, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Professor Funsho Falade.
The keynote speakers, panelists, event day judges, our students. I am delighted to welcome you to the 4th Professor Ayodele Awojobi Design Competition. Professor Ayodele Awojobi was a faculty member in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, University of Lagos between 1966 and 1984. He was a great scholar and was considered a genius by his teachers and peers alike. Those students who were privileged to be taught by Professor Ayodele Awojobi nicknamed him Mr. Dead Easy. because he has solution to all his problems in his taught courses at his fingertips. To him, all problems were dead easy, and hence his nickname. Professor Awojobi was an author, inventor, a social crusader, and an activist. He died in 1984, but his legacy remains alive. This event is the fourth in the series, and the students are committed to making it an annual event. The aim of the competition is to promote skill development among undergraduates in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, which together constitute the bedrock of development. I wish to seize this opportunity to call on our government to invest in STEM to provide opportunities for our youth to develop relevant skills that will enhance the development of the national infrastructure. Otherwise, our nation will remain permanently underdeveloped. I applaud the sponsor of this event for channeling their resources to a venture that brings high returns both now and in future. I especially acknowledge the support given to the students and our faculty by Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, who is also an alumni of our great faculty, and thank the Governor most sincerely for always responding to our calls. I thank you all for listening. God bless you, and I wish you a successful competition. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your kind words, and we feel very honored to have you every time. Every year we call you, you always answer us. Thank you so much. And like Dean just said, rightly said, the commitment to making this event a yearly one is absolutely outstanding. We would like to say well done to the team members who have been undeniably having sleepless nights and working so hard to make sure that this year does not fall short of expectation. We'll be going straight right now to listen to the welcome address from the chairman himself of this year's edition of PAADC. Please just listen to Omoni Pasasi's welcome speech.
Today, I will be climbing up the stage to give this speech, perhaps with a roaring applause filling the auditorium as I take each step. However, here we are. As we all know, a lot has changed socially and economically. In all the prediction of the year 2020, not one person foretold that we would have a pandemic that would cause virtually the entire world to shut down. The COVID-19 pandemic necessitated a change in our life, making the new normal a mantra. We know life in a world where our survival is pegged on the great modification of our lifestyles. It is, however, crucial to note that technology has saved humanity from what could have been regarded as the world's greatest nemesis. Through innovation and technology, the world has been able to unite in the past few months to prevent an uncoverable global economic disaster, disseminate vital information in fighting virus, and simulate our normal way of life. Hence, the role of innovation and technology in the face of COVID-19 pandemic makes PAADC and the work we are doing more necessary than ever. Planning PAADC 4.0 with my amazing team members was a wonderful and life-changing journey. Yes, we faced smaller obstacles during the earlier days of our planning process, but the pandemic forced us to stop in our track. We were already achieving and surpassing several milestones and had our minds set for even bigger things before our backs were pushed against the wall. We then had to make a tough decision: host a virtual event, unprecedented in our history, or postpone till next year. When life gives you lemon, you make lemonade, and that is exactly what we did. At some point, I almost gave up from the strains of charting this unfamiliar territory and the challenges that came with it. But the support I received from my parents, amazing team members, board of trustees, and the entire PAADC family kept me going. They never got tired of my complaints. Connecting this overwhelming support from my friends and family with my realization of indispensable roles of innovation and technology in our world today propelled me to give myself wholeheartedly to PAADC, and because I came to understand how pivotal this platform is, particularly to Nigerian society. It is no gainsaying that PAADC 4.0 is unprecedented. With over 16 million youths in Nigeria, we would be featuring some of the brightest minds in the innovation space today. The finalists were selected among a pool of applicants after undergoing thorough scrutinization from our judges. I am confident that the ideas that would be presented here today would excite and inspire you. I will end by saying we should all be committed to discovering and empowering the brilliant and resilient young people in our nation. We should strive to create spaces that enable them create and innovate without limits. Thank you and welcome to PAADC 4.0.
Thank you very much, Lee. And I'm sure you feel better right now that we are already kicking it up today. We'd like to say well done to you, because we understand how tasking it must have been through the process of, spearheading the team to make PAADC 4.0 a success. And I can proudly say it's a success already. Moving on to listen to one of our keynote speakers for today. His name is Mr. Dipo Faulkner. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to read out a few things you should know about this great man that's going to be speaking to us for a couple of minutes. Mr. Dipo Faulkner is the country's general manager for IBM West Africa, and he's responsible for IBM's overall business in this region, with a focus of deploying IBM's advanced technology capabilities in cognitive big data analytics, is also into mobile security, and to solve the current and future needs of institutions in the key economic sectors. He's also responsible for providing leadership for IBM's relationship and corporate social initiative in the civil society, ICT, and academic communities. With over 25 years of regional experience, Mr. Dipo Faulkner led IBM's global business services for Central and West African from 2014 to 2016, and helped develop strong client relationship in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to listen to Mr. Dipo Faulkner? Please, like wherever you are, to pay attention to what we're going to hear from this great man, Mr. Dipo Faulkner. Listen.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, esteemed partners, participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here today for the grand finale of the prestigious Professor Ayodele Awojobi Design Competition, which now is in its 4th edition. This is indeed a laudable initiative that taps into the creativity of our brilliant young minds across Nigerian universities. I've followed with keen interest the previous editions, and I've seen some of the successes that have come from this. It is indeed remarkable and should be encouraged. The theme of this year's competition is technology and how it can be leveraged to design innovative solutions that address some of the critical challenges we're facing today. We are at the brink of a digital disruption and transformation in Nigeria, with technology playing a part in almost everything we do. From finance, where we've seen mobile payments and mobile wallets, to transportation with GoCarda, Taxify, and the rest of them, and to healthcare with telemedicine, and several others. We've seen how technology has made so many processes much faster, much efficient, and easier to do. As a result, we need to sharpen our creativity by looking deeper at how we can leverage emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, IoT, quantum, and the rest of them to further fast-track our country's development. The current state of the world affects us all. It fosters uncertainty, creates abnormal conditions, and raises unforeseen challenges. We are reminded of the need for design thinkers that will help address the uncertainty, work with constraints, and create human-centered solutions. People with human-centered mindset are primed to solve problems together with empathy and humility, which is why I think it's important for us all to adopt new technologies like design thinking, which helps in breaking down the challenges into modules and coming up with innovative solutions. The current COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of digital platforms and technologies from education, leveraging platforms for remote learning, to corporate organizations going completely digital with remote work, to virtual competitions like this, where I am a virtual judge, and this will become the new normal. It could not have come at a much better time for us because the opportunities are endless. And I'm really glad to be part of this year's event, to contribute my quota to the initiative, and most importantly, to hear the brilliant ideas that you have all come up with. Once again, you're welcome, and I hope you have a wonderful edition of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dipo. Thank you for creating time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this year's PAADC, the Professor Ayodele Awojobi Design Competition. We really appreciate your presence. We'd like to listen straight up to our next keynote speaker. He's an amazing man. He is the Group Managing Director of Sahara Power Group. Mr. Kola Adeshina is a commensurate entrepreneur with experience that traverses the academia, finance, energy, trade, and diplomacy. He's the director at the Sahara Group, like I earlier said, a leading international energy, power, oil and gas, and infrastructure conglomerates with operations in over 38 countries across Africa, Asia, Middle East, and Europe. He currently leads the vision of Sahara Power Group, aimed at bringing energy to light by deploying diverse power sources to light. And like, ladies and gentlemen, please let us make welcome Mr. Kola as he speaks to us shortly.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, great Akokites, students of the Faculty of Engineering, University of Lagos, Mechanical Engineering Department, I want to say a big thank you for deeming it fit to invite me to speak to you on one of Africa's illustrious children, Professor Ayodele Awojobi. Without a doubt, I had the privilege of reading so much and even meeting Professor Ayodele Awojobi at the zenith of his career. I had the privilege of having to go to University of Lagos because then some of us used to read about him in the papers, and I felt it's imperative for me to see this fine gentleman that at that time was regarded as a genius par excellence. Reading his story and seeing him in action shows nothing else but a moving encyclopedia, a man of excellence. And reading his story that says that as a lecturer, most of the students nicknamed him Dead Easy, while because of the fact that he had the privilege of teaching in a manner that really was so simple and easy to understand. In school, he was nicknamed Macbeth, another interesting character by William Shakespeare. For those of you who probably just read his story and never had the privilege of reading him in the course of your time, I would say that when you are talking of somebody that is solid intellectually, Ayodele Awojobi was one of a kind. He had the privilege of getting his doctorate of science degree at the age of 37. And at that material time, I recall a lot of people felt, wow, that's almost impossible to accomplish. And he did it so from Imperial College, if my memory serves me right. And he created a vehicle. One of the things that marked him out was the fact that there was a design he came up with, Autunov 1, at that time that really stood the test of time. I know that it's at a museum in Lagos, and it was one of the places, the things that some of us used to go to see in the Faculty of Engineering at that time. And it says a lot about somebody practicing what he learned in school. Like I said recently at a program of engineers, an engineer is a converter of ideas into reality. But for engineers, the world we live in today will definitely not be as beautiful, as easy, dead easy in some instances, as we have it today. One of those that made this happen was no other person but Ayodele Awojobi, a mathematician, and not just that, he was a social critic that was unique in several respects. Everything he saw in society that was wrong, he rose up and spoke against any evil in society. He never took time out to sleep over our problem. He spoke and walked through those problems, providing solutions to problems of Nigeria. As I was saying earlier, an engineer is somebody that is creative, that is innovative, that finds solutions for problems of humanity. Society look nowhere else but to engineers for us to be able to make things better, cheaper, and probably more qualitative. So, as engineers of today, the question is, what are you doing to design things without limit, which is in conformity with your theme? I know it's a competition that you guys are organizing, and I want to support this competition fully. With my own widow's mite, I want to say that I'm volunteering to provide 250,000 naira, for instance, for the best design that is practicable, and that is solving one of the problems of our society in this time. It's imperative that the vision that you've articulated by being the largest propelling platform that enables undergraduates to develop practical, innovative and sustainable solution to Nigerian problem is realized through you. That ambition, I align with it fully. As one of the investors and owners of a power plant in Nigeria, you may well know that electricity is one of our problems. And if you guys can find a solution to electrifying Nigeria, you definitely would have been doing this country a world of good. The world we live in today is a knowledge economy. It is those of you with ideas and practical ideas that can make the difference that we all seek to see. So the question you must keep asking yourself on a daily basis is, what difference are you making in the Nigeria of today to make it the Nigeria of our dreams? Industrialized nation didn't get to where they got to through any other means but through people. It is people that make things happen. So I'm challenging you and I'm asking you, are you one of those making things happen, or are you sleeping whilst things are happening and you're just monitoring and watching things happen? Be like Ayodele Awojobi, a man of excellence. I challenge you to becoming the best of you that is possible. We are here to support you. I wish you well in this competition as I look forward to celebrating with the winners very soon. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your kind words, and we understand that the designs that we're going to see this year are absolutely going to be amazing, and we really appreciate your financial contribution and also your words of wisdom that you are impacting on us. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that last year the theme was the influence of science and technology on a progressive society, and this year we've decided that it is going to be tagged Designs Beyond Limits, Without Limits, and I hope to see amazing designs. We had over 136 applicants from the initial stage, and they have been streamlined down to 5 applicants that are qualified for the final stage. We have the Team Sedge from Covenant University. We have Team Alexa from University of Ibadan. We have Team Eden from University of Nigeria, Nsukka. We have Team Stacks from University of Lagos, and we finally have Team Umai from University of Ibadan. We hope that within these 3 days, they're going to be showing us really amazing things. But before we go to the pitching of ideas, we still have to listen to a panel session that would be talking about leveraging technology skills to break barriers. And this will be handled by Ms. Chiamaka Wanchuku. I'll hand over to Chiamaka to moderate with our panel session right now. And for the panel session, we have our guests to be Dr. Sidney Esiri, Mr. Adekunle Asan, Mr. Jason Njoku, and finally Mrs. Rolayo Akibe. And we hope that when you listen to these people giving us insights on the topic, leveraging tech skills to break barriers, you're going to understand that. Don't forget that later on today we have giveaway, so please stay glued wherever you're watching from the YouTube live. Stay glued to us as we would definitely have a lot of things to give away today. Let's move over to you, Chiamaka. Hello, Chiamaka. I'm handing over the panel session to you. We just watched the video of our panelists, so we'll be handing over to Chiamaka. I want you to go right now.
Right. Thank you. I apologize. I seem to have had a few technical issues, but that notwithstanding, thank you, Abraham, and thank you to everyone for inviting me to moderate this session. I'm excited to be here. So just to jump right in, because I'm certain you didn't come here to listen to me, I am happy to be moderating this panel with people who are leaders in their various industries, Mr. Jason Njoko, Mrs. Rolayo Akigbe, Dr. Sidney Isiri, and Mr. Kunle. So first of all, I would like to remind us that the topic or the theme of discussion for this panel is leveraging tech skills to break barriers. And this is very important because right now we are listening to discussions about how Nigeria needs to broaden its economy and invest in the digital sector. So this is something that I believe that we would all be able to benefit from, even though we may not be technology inclined. This is something every young person should be looking at getting into. So I would like to start this discussion, first of all, with Mr. Njoku. Mr. Njoku is very vocal on Twitter and other social media platforms about how Nigeria needs to broaden its economy. And we have seen that in recent times, unemployment rates in both Nigeria and on the continent have been on the steady rise. So my question to Mr. Njoku today would be, how does the average young person, keeping in mind that it seems that technology is the new IT sector to be in, how does the average young person leverage on this changing ecosystem and take advantage of it to become relevant as, as things are changing?
Hi, thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me okay?
I think we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, fantastic. So I think first and foremost, there's a big disconnect between Nigeria and Nigerians in tech who happen to be in Nigeria at the moment. So 5 years ago, there were very few engineers. Those engineers are primarily focused on local products, services, working for local tech companies. With the emergence of Andela, different kind of coding boot camps, with the move to more remote work, and obviously the fact that there are millions of unfilled tech jobs in the US, it kind of made it much more accessible for global talent to basically tap into the US priced or the European priced tech market. If you look over the last 5 years, actually, like any good, strong junior engineer in Nigeria, essentially is open to global prices, is open to global talent, right? And I guess let me give you an example from Ivoco's perspective. We hired about 13 engineers in 2017 to work as part of our global engineering team. Over time, those guys were, they ended up going to work for Booking in Amsterdam. They went to work for Uber in Amsterdam. They went to work for different companies in Canada, in Germany, in France. People went to go explore their masters in the UK. So of the 13 engineers that we hired in 2016, 2017, I think one of them is currently still in Nigeria. So I think for all intents and purposes, like even though Nigeria has had its struggles, Nigerians in tech, they're not struggling. I think, again, if you're on Twitter every single day, you will see people being congratulated for joining Shopify, for joining Google, for joining Microsoft. So if you're a smart young Nigerian today and you have a propensity for engineering, you're going to get a job. That job will most likely not be in Nigeria. And you're going to be earning, I would suggest, I'd expect to be very high salaries in the dollars. And we're talking about 70, 80 to $100,000 a year as a junior engineer at most of these companies. And with time and when the borders open, they'll probably try and relocate you and your family to a different country, right? You know, somewhere more suitable for your, I guess, your economic bracket, etc. So I think, again, there are two things that I think Nigerian policymakers don't fully appreciate, is that you cannot hold back human capital. And we're seeing another brain drain like we did 15, 20 years ago. And two, just because you don't value tech doesn't mean that other people don't value tech. So we're ultimately going to end up losing our best to other countries, right, who do value tech and who are willing to pay $100,000 a year for a guy who's 2 or 3 years out of university. So I think the policymakers, you know, it's happened. Remote work and the COVID-19 process has only going to accelerate that. So I see that surge continually going. So I think any young person, first and foremost, learn tech, learn as many languages as you can, learn how to code, contribute to GitHub, contribute to as many sort of open source projects as possible, because ultimately, like, people will employ you. My kids are 5 and 7. One codes JavaScript, the other one codes Python. You know, they have 45 minutes a day of coding because I wanted to be able to code before the age of 10. That's the way the world is. And I think anyone who doesn't know how to embrace that is literally, like, you know, just, again, kind of sacrificing themselves in an altar, which is Nigeria. And I don't think that's necessary in this day and age.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Njoku. So just to build up on that, just to continue on the information or the suggestions that you have talked about, can you make like practical recommendations or practical ideas or suggestions that you believe the average young person, because sometimes we talk about these spaces being a little exclusive and being difficult to break into. So are there platforms that you believe the average young person who may not have access to some of these exclusive spaces can make use of, that is open to everybody and the average lay person?
Yeah,
please go on.
You know, coding is a technical skill, right? But it's a vocation. Some of the best coders, they taught themselves. Like they didn't learn how to code in a university department. Again, some of our biggest tech titans, they learned to code before the age of 11. So you think of Zuckerberg, you think of Gates, you think of Jack Dorsey. All of these guys were coding before they basically entered high school. So we're talking about before the age of 12. So I think the access to coding and coding frameworks and techniques are like everywhere. So I think like code.org, Google has Grasshopper app, I think it is. There are so many online coding kind of platforms which are able for anybody who basically wants to learn how to code and are willing to apply themselves. They can learn how to code in like 6 to 9 months. They can become equivalent of a junior sort of engineer within 2 or 3 years. And again, as long as they're contributing, as long as they're learning, as long as they're wrapping themselves in the communities which exist, and there are constant events, constant online communities. Mark and Hotels ING have done a fantastic job of kind of broadening that. So if you genuinely want to open yourself up to the global market and to essentially, you know, be part of that macro movement, all you need is a laptop, an internet connection, and your time, right? There is literally no reason why you can't tap into that. It's whether or not you want it.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So right now we'll be moving on to, we'll still come back to you, Mr. Njoku, thank you. We'll be moving on to Mrs. Relayo Akigbe. I'm a personal fan, just to say. I have read about your work and encountered your work with empowering young female professionals. And we honestly believe that you can shed some insight on this question here. So the tech space is often promoted as being radical, different, and dynamic. However, even in this space, many jobs advertise demand for a certain number of years of experience. So how in this case can job seekers leverage on his or their gained expertise? Mr. Njoku talked about learning yourself, putting putting in the work to learn it as a vocation. So how can people leverage on the expertise they have gained maybe by themselves to break into these circles, even when they might not have had, formal training or formal experience?
All right, thanks a lot, Chair Michael, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. I think I'm going to pick on what Jason Joko had said earlier, as far as being a self-starter. Now, the way traditional organizations work, and I guess I still sort of work in one, right? So there's this view they should have done X, Y, Z. You should have had experience in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, before you can now, be employed or be employable. And the question you're asking yourself is, and I hear the question you're asking me is, if you haven't been employed, then where's the experience supposed to come from, right? And how are you supposed to get it? So, but the beauty about technology is that you can do so much without anybody, without even being formally paid for it. What I've seen now in the amount of creativity that I've seen in whether people are coding or using technology to bring a solution in place or put a solution in place, it's not even confined to being employed by anyone. There's certain things that I've seen people do. I mean, we do quite a bit in the tech space as well. With as a financial institution, we do things with Hub One. We have an incubator. We partner with the tech space quite strongly. And what I see is that people are self-starting. They see a problem and do their best to try and fix that problem, even while in school. So they're not necessarily being employed by company A or B. They're not being employed by IBM or Google or any of these guys. They're just trying to fix problems, and the problem will be something as simple as transportation on my campus is a challenge. I'm going to create an app that can help that. Or, getting artisans is a problem. I find that in my dormitory or whatever it is, each time the wardrobe gets broken, I can't find a carpenter. How do I get a carpenter? Other people have those problems. So I've seen people come together and try and bring those solutions in place. And then when you're interviewing them, because we do quite a lot of formal interviews, when you're interviewing them and they're sharing this expertise, what you're looking for is not necessarily the number of years experience that they have, because this is still a new space. If someone tells me they've been coding for 20 years, I wonder how relevant is that now, because the codes we are writing 20 years ago will not be relevant today. But the question is, what problem are you solving? Because what we're looking for now, what is most important now is the ability to think, that creative thinking, to say, here's a problem and here's how we can use technology to address that problem. So my answer to your question will be, you don't have to have been employed. The question is, how do you demonstrate that you've been able to solve a problem, no matter how big or small? Because what people are looking for now is your capacity to think and bring solutions. It's been a very challenging year for everyone in every way, shape, or form. There's no institution, organization that hasn't been impacted in some way, shape, or form, and everyone has a problem. So everyone's looking for a solution provider. So when you can identify someone who has that capacity to think, and not just to say, here's the problem, don't just document the problem. Tell us, okay, this is what the problem is, and this is what I'm thinking about. This is my intent. You may not be right 100%, but the fact that you've shown that you have the capacity to think already stands you head and shoulders above others who just say there's a problem and leave it at that. So that would be what I'll say for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Akibe. And you raised a very important point, which I'd like to build on to address Mr. Adekunle Hassan. You talked about realizing that there are problems, especially problems within your community, your society, your country, and then building innovation to solve those problems. So Mr. Kunle Hassan, you created your company about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And right. Recently we have seen how government policies can greatly affect the longevity of startups, especially, and for some reason it seems to affect more now the startups in the digital sector. So what is your advice or recommendations, or can you shed some insight on how new or aspiring founders, like Mr. Kibe said, people are trying to solve problems, correct? New aspiring founders who want to remain relevant in the long run, considering government policies and competition.
Okay, sorry, could you restate your question, please?
Okay, so based on the premise that recently we have seen how government policies can greatly affect the longevity of startups, especially those in the digital sector, what advice would you have for new or aspiring founders who want to remain relevant in the long run, given this premise?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. When it comes to government policies and it comes to just kind of being a startup, I think one thing you should probably do before you start solving any problem and that you want to take commercial is kind of do your research about what kind of government policies are there and how well regulated that particular industry is. For example, I know one thing that's happened that everybody's quite familiar with is there was an influx of delivery services and kind of ride-hailing companies, and that was strictly regulated during this whole kind of pandemic period. And if something's not regulated, you have to understand that if there's an opportunity there and you begin to make money in that opportunity, you're going to attract the attention of the government. So I think all you can do is just dot your I's, cross your T's, and do your research as much as possible as far as government policy goes. In my particular industry, I kind of operate in a space where I serve lots of different industry makers. I'm kind of like an Andela in the sense that I'm a software shop. I build software for lots of different people. So right now, that doesn't, like, government policies, there are some, but it doesn't really affect me because I can work with almost any industry that kind of needs it. So I'm not even sure if I'm the best person to kind of help you answer that particular question. But what I can say is that, yeah, you just have to do your research and understand what it is that you're getting into.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. And to build on that, I would like to also ask a second question. So there's a growing need for technology in today's world, as basically we have been talking about since the beginning of this conversation. However, it seems that there is still sort of a gap between the digital industry and the other sectors of the economy.
Sure.
So what would be your thoughts concerning mainstreaming technology to utilize it in every sector? Because we understand that digital innovation is going to be helpful in every sector and shouldn't just be confined to one. So what are your recommendations concerning this, as when you're thinking about Nigeria and the African continent as a whole?
Okay. So when it comes to industries that have not really had that kind of digital transformation, it really, I think there are two ways to do it, right? One, partner with somebody in that industry that's willing to accept change and wants to kind of transform their own business operations, or two, you disrupt that industry yourself, right? And you kind of take the people there by surprise. For me, I've worked with lots of different industries who are trying to become more digital. So for example, I work with hospitals. I build electronic medical records, and I build other kind of automated services to help them kind of improve their workflow. But what I found is you'll always find some people who are used to doing things one particular way. And it's either one of two things. Either you help them kind of understand the benefits that they can get from transitioning or having a digital transformation, because a lot of these industries, they've been around for a long time. There are a lot of people who are used to doing business a particular way, and it's very hard to convince them that technology will make a big difference. A lot of people see technology just as a kind of an expense, something that's expensive, that's complicated, that will take too long to transform. But I think one thing you can do is probably tackle a particular problem in any of these industries, solve it, and then show them the benefit. And I think if you're coming into an industry, you don't just say, hey, use technology, we'll make you better. You have to say, hey, I understand these are your problems. I understand these are the issues you've been facing. And these are some things that I have created or I will create that will help you solve these problems. And this is the benefit. You have to show them. I think in order to help transform these industries, you need to help them see what the benefit is directly. You can't just tell them, they have to see it. You have to demonstrate it. You have to solve that problem. And that, I feel, if we do that for more industries, then they'll be happy to jump on board and to make that transition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunle Hassan. I would now like to address this next question to Dr. Iri. Something has come up, and from what Mr. Kunle Hassan talked about in terms of sometimes disrupting that sector and showing that your ideas work. These are good things, and these are that we believe can disrupt various sectors. However, one thing that founders or young innovators talk about as a major barrier to putting all their amazing ideas to good use in real life is funding. So Dr. Siri, you made the transition from music to digital industry. So can you give some insight from both your personal experience and your experience with other people, advice or some advice on how young people can access funding for innovation?
Wow, thank you so much for that question. First of all, I want to say really thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor to be here. I want to say I'm a big fan of Jason. It's glad to finally get to see you or be on the panel with you. It's a very special moment. That question you just asked me, I wish someone could answer that question for me as well. But in my personal experience, when moving, making a pivot from music into other sectors of entertainment and media, one in particular that I'm very passionate about, which is esports and gaming. I find that, especially in an environment like Nigeria, where the ideology of gaming and esports sounds very foreign and still, I don't know how to call it, a waste of time to a lot of people. It's very difficult to find people to invest in an idea like that. And because the ecosystem as is still in its infancy in Nigeria, it's very difficult to show the kind of metrics in the local arena that would persuade any individual or any company or any financial institution to invest in such an idea. So I find that, and this is what I'm about to say is an idea that I've got from Don Jazzy. He's always told me that if you have the right product, you can sell it anywhere. And the idea which I'm trying to do now is in any situation that you find yourself in the tech industry or digital industry, you have to make sure that you have a viable product. And with a viable product, you will definitely find someone who's ready to listen. I've been pushing esports for the last 3 to 4 years now in Nigeria. And this is the first year that I've actually got people calling me and asking me to put together a deck with financials and financial projections for potential investment, and a lot of money has gone down into it. I think the lockdown actually did a great job for tech and the digital space globally. I mean, a lot of platforms grew. A lot of people started watching more Netflix, more Roku TV. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people started gaming more. And right now, I can tell you the Nigerian federal government and the Ministry of Sports is highly interested in esports and gaming. And it's like, oh, a light bulb is just turned on. But everybody's heard about the numbers in terms of how, millions of people have made money around the world, but they don't understand that there's a lot of groundwork and investment that needs to go into it before you start making those numbers. So I personally believe that I think if you can have a product and you can have a way to show that product and get a following, it's easier to convince people to invest money. In Nigeria, especially in the digital space, it is not in our culture to invest in things that we cannot see. Digital space is still like magic to a lot of people. You understand? Yeah, and when you tell in esports, you tell someone that a kid is playing Fortnite, a video game, and that's supposed to bring in money, people look at you like you must be crazy. But we forget that years ago, playing football was considered crazy and a waste of time. And now parents are heavily invested in getting their children into football academies. The same thing happened to the music industry. So I'm very confident that in the digital space, and I must say this to everyone who's getting in right now, stick to your guns. If it's been successful somewhere else, it'll definitely become successful in Nigeria, because we might lag behind, but we definitely do catch up. And when we catch up, we do that with amazing speed and aggression. So whatever you're doing right now, just, make sure you build your products and be prepared for the revolution. I think 2021 is going to be very big for tech and digital, the digital world in Nigeria. And I think everybody should be preparing themselves for that revolution.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siri. So to wrap up all you have said nicely, because you're like right in the thick of building your own company. If you could make one call to action, okay, let's say 2 call to actions in terms of policies or support for young people just entering the digital sector, what would that be?
Wow. Well, for me, the difficult part in what I'm doing is getting numbers or being able to actively show this is where the market is. So for me, I would like to see a consolidation of the players and parties involved in esports and gaming to sort of confluence in one place where we can say there's 1 million gamers or there's 1 million people playing video games in Nigeria. That would help everyone, not just the players, the tournament organizers, but also game developers, be able to know that understand your target market, and that in turn will help you develop or get investment in whatever you're trying to do.
Thank you very much. And you've made an important point, which I can relate very much to being in the health sector, which is data. Data in terms of the market, the numbers, and all of that. So thank you, Dr. Isiri. I'd like to circle back now.
Thank you.
Final question to Mrs. Akigbe. So it is predicted that technology will take over many tasks that are currently being achieved by human efforts, rendering many careers and many courses of study probably obsolete. So what are your thoughts for the average young person? And I keep saying, the average young person, because not everyone has access to certain opportunities. So what are your thoughts for the average young person to prepare for this new normal, which is practically already here?
Okay. First of all, the new normal is here. When people say the new normal is almost here, it's here. I was part of a session yesterday. I had to tell someone that the old normal has gone. That door has been shut. Okay. This is what it is. I mean, if we're to look at what the previous speaker just talked about, that's Dr. Isiri, and I'm quite excited about what he said, especially about new areas that are coming up. Things like gaming and what have you. I mean, personal story. So one of my sons is very much into gaming. He says he wants to do certain things professionally. He's created his YouTube page. He has over 150 subscribers, So, and he's 13. So at 13, was I thinking about
Can I have him? Can I have him?
I'm actually reacting to that because exactly what you're saying about Fortnite, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? But they have squads, they have a team, he's recording the videos, he's got 150 subscribers. I'm thinking, how did you find these people, for crying out loud? But so that's what it is. At 13, was I thinking about that? No, but that's the future, and that future is now. It's here. So going back to what the question you're asking about, people saying that technology is going to replace people. Look, the truth is technology is never going to replace human beings 100%, right? Technology is only going to leverage and enhance what people can do. The fact that we're even having this conversation online, that's the power of technology. But it's not AI that's having this conversations, it's human beings that are leveraging on technology. And I think that's what the future actually holds. I work in a sector where there's been a lot of fear in terms of collaborating in the tech space. As I work in finance, and people say, the fintechs will kill the banks, the fintechs will do this. But I have a very different view. I see a situation where we have a handshake, right? So there's old ways of doing things and new ways of doing things. How do we bring those two together? So everybody gets, everybody is going to take advantage of that and moves forward. So for the younger person that is thinking, what do I need to do? Do I need to code? Not everybody needs to code. That's the truth. Technology is not just about coding. And I think that's part of what people need to understand, that yes, there's the coding part, there's a hardcore technical part, but there's also the understanding of how to use technology, how to utilize technology. Because the person who understands how to write the code may not necessarily understand the business and how to create a product. So there's still always an opportunity to learn and put basic skills in place, understanding how to create a product, understanding how to work with people, because you will still need to work with people, right? So technology isn't going to take over all our jobs. No, it's going to enhance what we do. And also means that people also need to pay attention to what the future is saying. What are the future trends? So there's no point paying attention and focusing on things that you already know is a dying breed, for example. If you already know certain things are going out the door, why do you want to focus on that? The question you should be asking yourself is, how do I leverage on technology to drive this future so that I can be part and still be relevant the industries that are now emerging, and there are many industries emerging. There are lots of opportunities that I believe don't even exist right now that people can take advantage of. So bottom line of what I'm saying is, technology isn't going to take away all our jobs. The robots aren't going to come take away all our jobs. AI isn't going to, subsume more human beings. We still need people. People still need to connect with human beings. The question is just how we do that, and what are the basic functions we need to have. What are the basic skills we need to have? Creativity, interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, managing people. Those things will never go. You can never go wrong learning those skills. So I guess I'll leave it at that so that the other speakers can say their last words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Igwe. And it's interesting that you mentioned your son, because Mr. Njoku made, and this question is directed at him now. This is my friend. So, and this is the most motivational and discussions seem to promote. There's a lot of discussion about starting your own company, not working with anybody, but he said the exact opposite. So I would like to ask Mr. Njoku, can you shed some light on this, and what would be your advice or recommendation to young people who are considering becoming entrepreneurs?
Hi, can you guys hear me okay? Because that was really not very clear. Or is that just me? I just wanted to confirm that.
No, we can hear you. I think
Okay.
You can hear me fine.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, but the question was a bit choppy.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you now, but it is quite choppy, the question.
Okay, so do you want me to go over the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm asking, there's a lot of talk about entrepreneurship and starting your own company. So based on some of the thoughts you have expressed via social media in the past, we'd like to know if you can shed some light on your advice to young people considering becoming entrepreneurs.
Okay, that's a great question. So actually, first, can I just sort of back into the gaming sort of conversation that sort of previous panelists mentioned on? I think probably the largest beneficiary of this lockdown and this entire COVID thing has actually been gaming companies. They are going on an absolute tear. Like every single gaming entrepreneur that I've heard of is going gangbusters. Like my son just turned 7. I bought him a PS4. I've spent about $200 on games. I don't spend $200 on Netflix. I probably never spend $200 a year on DSTV, just to give you a context of how powerful gaming is at the moment. So the doctor said on esports, like again, that's an incredibly hot area that people didn't even realize was there. Like literally yesterday, I was reading about a company out of San Francisco called Skills. They are just about to list on the NASDAQ at a $3.5 billion valuation. I'd never even heard of the company. But what they do is they match people all around the world who are essentially, semi-professional or almost amateur gamers. And if, for example, I'm playing Dr. Sid against something, we both wager either $5, whoever wins gets $9, and Skills take their cut. Right? So I think there are incredibly amazing opportunities, which are there not beyond just the core tech, core technical skills. I'm not a developer, so I think there's no sort of bias for me on that. I think the key thing right now is that, look, especially in places like Nigeria, like entrepreneurship is hard, right? It's not easy. I grew up in the UK. If you're an entrepreneur in the UK and you succeed and you do incredibly well, you're far more likely to stay succeeded than you are in somewhere like Nigeria, where somebody can wake up and change the rules of the game and basically take your business to zero. So I think the regulatory environment doesn't make it encouraging. The devaluation, again, if you look over like a 10-year history, when I first landed in Nigeria, the Naira was about, I think, 85 to 90 to the dollar. Now we're sort of in the 400 plus range, and we have no idea where that's going to end up. That's real value, which is basically disappearing, right? So I think for a young person today, I would say definitely the younger you are, you can have a full-time job and you can work on side projects. I think the key thing for me is that you need to be very careful about how you manage your risk of failure. So again, like, you know, if Iroko failed today, it's fine, right? Like, I've got a beautiful house, I've got a beautiful family, like, I'm not going to be on a breadline, I'm going to be okay. But again, if it was like, you know, 10 years ago when I started, if I'd failed, then I probably would have been okay as well, because there was nothing to protect, right? But I think if you're a young person, you don't want to borrow, sort of beg, accumulate whatever small assets you have, throw them into a business, and then spend the next 5 years of your life trying to make that work. I think it's almost unnecessary in this day and age. You can make a lot of money elsewhere. So I think there's definitely opportunities to, you know, learn, educate yourself, be in full-time employment, and then obviously do things on the side, or side projects. In Nigeria, definitely is the land of the side project, which enables people to kind of, like, you know, make sure that they're not risking their own financial future on a company. I think being an entrepreneur is fantastic, but you don't want to basically hobble yourself for the rest of your career because you made a decision in your young days that may or may not have worked out. So again, I think for me, I would definitely encourage any Nigerian who is young to embrace technical skills or gaming skills or anything which is sort of like technology led. One. Two, I would definitely try and figure out ways for young people to earn in hard currencies. So figure out what your skill is and try and get that money in dollars. Nigeria is a fantastic currency, but dollars to Nigeria naira works as well. So I definitely feel that, like, for the long term, you know, our young people need to realize that we're part of a global system and we're essentially going to be at the mercy of that system once sort of things happen, right? So I think now for a young person, it's more exciting than any other time, at least in the last 10 years since I've been operating primarily in Nigeria. I think now there's more opportunities than there ever were before. I think that's fantastic. I think it's up to you to basically embrace them. But I think the key thing is, like, no one's going to help you. And definitely not the federal government of Nigeria. They're not going to help you. You have to help yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Joko. And you have raised very important points that I'm sure all of the audience has been able to gain a lot from. Thank you for talking about that, and, you know, shedding light on how it's not always glamorous. So we see startup founders and entrepreneurs, and it looks nice from the outside, but it's actually a lot of back-breaking work. So it's good to have, you know, realistic perspective on how someone can navigate that entire struggle. So thank you very much. We would now go to the Q&A session. I have a few questions. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time, so we'll just take two. So the first question is directed at Mr. Adekunle Hassan, and this is by Ayofumi. And the person is asking, with the current level of tech proficiency in Nigeria, how quickly can we bridge the gap to actually catch up with the rest of the world? And this is for Mr. Adekunle Hassan.
Okay. So when you say, I mean, it's an interesting question, because when you say the current level of tech proficiency, so I think as Jason mentioned earlier, you'll find that there are definitely people with the skill set to work in any international company. For example, in my company, I've had several people who have gone on for my company, have gotten jobs, as he said, at Google, at Booking.com, at different places around the world. So if you're talking about the individuals and their skill sets, I feel like you can do that in a few years. I know people within 5 years are skilled enough to get very high-paying jobs as senior roles or lead roles abroad, if that's what the person is asking. But if you're talking about the technology infrastructure within the country, right? I can't really, I mean, people, as a general saying, people say we're 10 years behind or so other countries. And I feel like technology and advancement of technology will only accelerate that gap. So I really can't say how long it will take for us to catch up unless the government or the institutions as the country as a whole is driving towards that narrative of making Nigeria a real tech powerhouse, or to increase the tech infrastructure and the tech skill set of people, and are making some real, actual, definite advancements in that area, which on the surface it seems to be doing, but I don't really see us catching up anytime soon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting, and it's great how you highlighted that in terms of skills and individual proficiency, it's possible to develop yourself well enough to world-class standards. So
Yeah.
that is important. In terms of systematic issues, we're going to have to take that one day at a time.
Yeah.
So the next question is to Dr. Isiri. Everyone just addresses you as Dr. Sid. I think it's going to be difficult to stop doing that. So this is also Ayo, a different Ayo, I think.
Okay.
And the person is asking, what skills do you advise undergraduates interested in gaming to start cultivating, and how could they possibly get into the industry?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So in gaming, there are definitely different aspects to gaming. So there's game development, which is actually creating games. And there are numerous platforms like the Unreal Engine right now where you can literally, and there's a new one that came out I saw on IGN a few days ago called Core, where you can literally build your game in 10 minutes. So if you want to be a game developer, you can literally learn about, these are free tools to learn how to develop your own games. If you want to be a player, it's literally putting in the work and putting in the time, the 10,000 hours rule to get better at any particular game and discover ways to develop yourself. And you know that in esports, there's various aspects, organizing tournaments. There's owning an esports team is like owning any other sporting franchise. There are various aspects to that as a business. But there's something Jason said, and it's all about gathering knowledge and applying yourself. And there was something he touched on, which I really want to reiterate, is that like I have a 9 to 5, I have a day job, and esports is a side hustle, and so is gaming and other things as well. And I trade forex, so that's also a side hustle which I've had to take time out to learn. And literally, what people say they don't have time, what I say is people don't have time management. So it's about managing your time and looking at it's free on YouTube or anywhere you want to get to learn about getting the skills to do that. And at the end of the day, it's mostly practice.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siri. I'm not sure if you finished speaking.
I guess I hope that answers. Hello?
Hello? I think we lost you for a bit.
Okay.
Or maybe it's just me. Or maybe it was just me.
No, I mean, I'm done speaking. I was just.
Yeah, okay, fine. I wasn't certain if that was the case. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Siri. Mr. Dekule Hassan asks would you like to follow up with the answer to that question?
Yeah, I do. So I just wanted to add something. So when it comes to gaming and tech, a lot of people focus on coding, and I like the fact that Dr. Sid mentioned, the free game engines that you can use to kind of develop your own games. But there are also other roles that are available. So for example, it's not just coding. You can be a game developer, sure, or you can be a product manager or a game producer, which are kind of the same roles when you look at the different things, which is kind of managing the whole process. There's also design. You can be a UX designer, user interface designer. Games also need user interface designers as well. It's actually such a huge industry. And then of course, like Dr. said, there's also the esports aspect of it, and there's different elements to that aspect of it. So just to add up to what he said, I would say go ahead and kind of look at all the different, just do some research on the gaming industry, look at all the different roles that are available, and kind of see where you kind of fit in. And don't look at just one way to enter the whole thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dekule Hassan, and thank you to all the panelists. I am so glad to have been a part of this conversation, and thank you to everyone watching from whatever part of the world that you are in. I have learned a lot. I'm not in the digital sector, I'm a doctor, but this was very interesting for me to learn and hear, especially in terms of applying tech and digital innovation to all the sectors for us to see progress and growth. So I will now hand over to the MC to continue this conversation, and I wish everyone an excellent grand finale and all the best to the teams competing. Have a very good evening.
Very good evening to you too, Chiamaka Nwachukwu. Thank you so much for handling the panel session very well. That was very remarkable. I'd like to thank all our panelists from Mr. Adekunle. Thank you so much, Mr. Adekunle Azan. Thank you so much, Mr. Jason Njoku. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rolayo Akibe. I thank you to Dr. Sydney Esiri. We understand that you are in a bit of not very comfortable situation, but you still gave out time from your busy schedule to come on to talk and also to impact a couple of people that are listening to you right now. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much again, Chairman. We'll be moving straight right now to the giveaway session. So for everyone that is watching right now from YouTube and other platform, we have gifts for you guys. We remember that we said during publicity that the first 100 people are definitely going to stand a chance of winning a cash prize. So this is what we're going to do because it's a 3-day program. Today, we will be focusing on the first 50 people to register. So what's going to happen right now is the first 50 people to register right now, you will send a number to your emails. We're going to have a raffle draw right now. And from that raffle draw, we're going to be selecting the winner. And immediately you see your number on the screen, all you have to do is to reply the email that was sent to you with the same number that appears on the screen as the winner, and we would contact you immediately on how you get your prize, okay? And we're also going to be asking a question, and the first correct answer on the YouTube comment section would be the winner of this giveaway session. So are you guys ready? Grab your keypads. We'll have the raffle draw right away. And the first number for the raffle draw is, we're rolling right now. We're rolling right now. And the number is number 4. Congratulations to number 4. So all you have to do right now is to reply the email. Okay, you got an email verification of your number. So reply the email with that number and you're going to be contacted on how you get to win your prize. So let's go to the, I'm going to ask a question right now and I want you to reply, comment on YouTube. And the first person to give the correct answer wins, and you'll be contacted right there on the YouTube comment section. So the first question is, when was the grand finale of the first edition of the Professor Ayodele Awojobi Design Competition? When was the grand finale of the first edition of PAADC held? And what's the name of the winning team? Amazing, right? So you have to tell us where the first edition was held and the name of the winning team. So comment right now on the YouTube comment section and you'll be contacted if you are the first winner. So let it come keep rolling. Right now, let it come keep rolling. For the last time, I'm going to read out the question. What was the first edition of PAADC held and what is the name of the winning team? I'm not asking you for how much they won. So just answer on the comment section right now. And the second question is, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for this one? The second question is, I'm seeing a lot of questions, a lot of answers already coming up. The second question is, which popular billionaire owns Tesla and what does he produce? Which popular billionaire owns Tesla and what does he produce? So if you answer these questions correctly, you'll be contacted immediately on the comment section right now. Don't forget to follow us on a social media platform on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, PAADC_official. Follow us on our social media platform so you can always be a part of the conversation ahead of when we have the meetings, all right? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, PAADC_official. We'll be glad to follow you back and join the family, okay? Right about now, we're going to be introducing the finalists. Now, this year is very phenomenal because these people from their various locations still found a way of explaining and pitching their ideas through the virtual space. And this is super amazing because that's what we stand for in PAADC, innovation and taking charge of what the future is. And I mean, if there's no ideas, if there's no innovation, then what what would the future be like? So we control what the future is going to look like here. And that's why I would like to applaud, first of all, the fact that you got to the final stage. You're already a winner. But let's introduce the teams that qualified for the final stage of this year's Professor Ayodele Awujobi Design Competition. The first team is Team Sedge, second team, Team Unite, Team Stacks, Team Alexa, and Team Eden. Let's check out these teams.
Indiscriminate dumping of refuse in unauthorized places creates illegal dump sites that pose great threat to the household and settlement nearby. Now, how much longer can this continue? Nigerians must begin to recycle.
The percentage of unemployed Nigerians in the labor force by 2015 was 10.4%. By 2018, it had risen to 23.1%, more than doubled within 3 years. And now, the latest statistics shows that the Nigerian unemployment rate has risen to a whopping 27.1% this year, 2020.
We, the members of Team Eden, after much research and analysis of the waste management problem in Nigeria, came up with the Green Dream. The Green Dream is a smart waste recycling project that consists of the smart waste bin and the mobile app. The smart waste bin consists of 4 different components: the metals, plastics, paper, and bio waste. The smart waste bin is powered by solar panels. It is airtight and equipped with antiperspirant to reduce foul odors.
We are currently developing a product to help the visually impaired communicate better and contribute to the Nigerian economy.
Our solution is Brelixia. Brelixia is a device which enables visually impaired people to write and save notes without hassles, save money on assistive technology, reach a wider audience as most people cannot read Braille. Our device can be interfaced with different types of computers, and it also has a text-to-speech feature.
D145
Cam D
C14
Cam C
4 type number. I'll change the position of the slide switch. 4145 .256
period on 4
and 0245.
Let's tell the story of numbers. Say we reduce the total number of youth workforce in Nigeria to just 10 people. 4 out of those 10 cannot get into the university because there just isn't any space for them. 2 of the remaining 6 are either in the wrong course or have lost interest in the course they are stuck with. 3 of the 4 people left are planning to move out of Nigeria, and just 2 might succeed.
One started as an online platform to bring the best course students in every part of the nation. Soon develops into an AI system that automatically analyzes courses and professions and personalizes it to each user.
After conducting surveys, we found out that learning online was difficult because of the various options that just didn't connect.
On our platform, the user only needs to select a particular career they want. The AI filters through the relevant courses, arranges them in a hierarchical manner, and creates a specialized path for that user to advance in his career without having to bother which course is right and which course is next.
According to the statistics given by the Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria, invasive flora and weeds account for 15% of food wastages across the country. Spoilages and transportation also account for 25% of food wastages across the country. Here at Team Stars, we developed a solution to this problem. And at the heart of our system is hydroponics. Hydroponics is a system of horticulture which involves planting without soils. Yeah, you heard right, planting without soils. We've also automated our system to be able to control temperature, humidity, and the most important factor of all, light and time. So we could plant anytime, anywhere, all year round without limitations.
Our enclosure is a space which allows us to grow plants without using soil. We have a series of pipes and hoses connected to a reservoir of water. Flow is generated by a pump. Within each pipe are 4 holes. These holes house net cups which our plant seeds are placed. Now, as a mixture of water and nutrients flow through each pipe, the plants absorb nutrients directly from the mixture and grow without the need for soil.
country with significant history, a nation of beautiful contrast, home to diverse cultures and languages, a land rich in nature, color, music, and food. Sadly, our beautiful nation is faced continuously with cases of periodic floods due to heavy rains with no escape routes as a result of blocked drainages.
Our solution is PAADC, a social enterprise focused on transforming single-use plastics and nylon waste combined with sand into sustainable building materials that are cost-effective and durable. Its production process removes with melting waste plastics at a temperature of 260 degrees Celsius using our PET liquefier machine. After this, sand is integrated at a predetermined ratio to improve fire resistance and overall compressive strength. This mixture is heated and stirred to a composite mix, which is poured in a unique design mode that separates our PET bricks from others.
The truth about it is I'm super marveled at these ideas, and I feel like the judges will be the ones that have the bulk of the work. So we'd like to appreciate all our judges that were able to streamline our 136 applicants down to these 5 finalists. I would like to appreciate about 8 pre-event judges that have been scrutinizing this people's ideas, these pitches, down to these 5 people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call your names as we recognize them. I will say thank you on behalf of the team of the Professor Ayodele Awojobi Design Competition 4.0. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Fisayo Fosudo. Thank you so much, Mr. Dayo Kolewo, Mr. Imalo Adeboye, Mr. Rotimi Thomas, Mr. Adeni Akindusi, Mr. Omotosho Oguni, Mr. Oluwatobi Williams, and finally Mr. Charles Adeduba. We'd like to say a very big thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and we understand that the task has not ended. Now, being able to choose the winner from this 5 finalists is actually going to be one hell of a task. I personally, after watching this video and watching these ideas, I'm marveled, and that's to show you that the future generation is controlled by the ideas we create from now, and I'm super impressed that young people are defining the future from what we think of today. This is where we have to draw the curtains. It's been an amazing journey. Do not forget, we're going to be here. Well, okay, but before that, we'd like to watch a video for dedicated to our pre-event judges. Thank you so much to all our judges. We really appreciate your inputs to the selection of this 5 finalists, and we hope that we hope that you help us out till the end, and we appreciate all your efforts. We also like to say to the finalists, well done, well done, and well done. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like you to come early. 3 p.m. is the time. Don't be late. Don't be late, because we're going to be listening to the 5 finalists explain, pitch their ideas to you and everybody listening. We'd also like you to make sure you join the conversation on the YouTube platform every time we're online, tomorrow and next. And please don't forget, we'd like to listen to your feedbacks on our social media platform. That's why we want you to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at PAADC_official. Please, it is very important that you kindly drop your feedback and your response about how the event is going. We'd like to listen to you, like to read what you have to say. I would also like to thank all our sponsors for being a part of this year's competition. We'd like to thank Kawaii Technologies. We'd like to thank Tangerine Live. We'd like to thank Platform Capital, Iroko TV, the Afra Initiative, Visual Collaborative, App Originals, and finally, Sahara Group. We'd like to thank you all for being a part of this year's PAADC. We know this would definitely not be possible without your input. We appreciate you all. And finally, do not forget, it continues tomorrow at exactly 3 p.m. and also on Saturday. From all of us here at PAADC, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you tomorrow. My name is Xavier Kins. Good night and God bless you.